Okay. Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad to be speaking with you today. We prepped for this as an audience. We watched your video that you
Okay.
recommended. We watched a little bit of Chelsea Fagan's video. We talked about capitalism and Marxism and the working class, and we're here. We're ready. We're excited.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah. How do you want to have the
I did tune
conversation?
in.
Hmm.
What's that?
You said you
Yeah,
tuned
I
in?
tuned in yesterday because someone actually commented on my most recent video and was like, I came here from Brittany Simon. And I was like, oh my God. And so then I like went over and watched the stream. So
Cute. Okay, perfect. Well, how should we have this conversation? What are we thinking?
yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about like ethical consumption under capitalism and
Just casual, just
because a
like a
lot of
little
people,
tee
yeah,
just
a lot of people talk about like how there's no such thing, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, but I actually think that I mean, I do agree, but I also think that doesn't mean there's no such thing as unethical consumption under capitalism.
Okay, love that.
So
Yeah.
while we can't be perfect, like all of our choices are problematic in some ways, like there are clearly better choices that we could be making. And so
Sure.
I think that like where there are better choices, you know.
Yeah.
But so last time we spoke, I'd watched a couple of your videos since then, and I stumbled upon your video kind of questioning Chelsea's second home purchase.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was an interesting experience for me because like I'm a fan of Chelsea's. And so
Mm-hmm.
like
Same.
half of my brain was like wanting to defend her, but then the other half was like, wait, but like I do think it's valid to question whether buying a second home with a pool like is ethical. You know what I mean?
The pool
So
shot killed
I
me. Every time I saw the pool shot, I was like, damn, even the pool is
I
an
know
added, like, a pool is such a
it's very bougie.
luxury.
And like I it was funny yesterday when on your stream when you were talking about cruises because I mentioned cruises in my video and you were like, "Oh, but I don't want to judge. Like I don't judge my family. Like they're having a good time.
Right.
Like they love it." And like that's how I feel about Chelsea. I'm like I get it. Like if I were in her position, like I might be justifying such a purchase
Sure.
myself and I'm like and you also said like money reveals
Mm.
your true character rather than like money changes you and corrupts you. And I
Yeah, I
thought
think
that was
so.
interesting.
Yeah.
There's like so many different directions we could take this in, but
I like all of those.
oh,
And I think what's hard for me is like I shouted out Chelsea so much in my life. Like I've been such a big fan of her work. And so it was just the
mhm,
last year or so that I'm like, where is she going? Like who is she hanging out with? But I actually think it's partially her environment. We are impacted by our
yeah, for
friends and our
sure.
family and who are around. And I know Chelsea has actively said she hangs out with older people. She doesn't hang out with
Mhm,
young people. And like if you're going to hang out with older people, they're probably going to be more conservative, even if they're liberals. And so you're
mhm,
going to come across sort of a girl boss, yes, buy a second house that isn't a need from a neighborhood that is being gentrified, like, that is struggling, that like needs
mhm,
that housing. And so I think this plays into sort of like, oh, are you not a leftist? As somebody who's newly deconstructing anti-capitalism or capitalism in general
right.
to become an anti-capitalist, like I'm very new. I'm still a baby, but because I'm also on that journey, I'm like, oh, how do I do this? And I know that it's hard. I know I made this big video where I was like, I'm not going to buy fast fashion with peace and
Mhm,
love. Past Brittany had no idea how hard it was to not buy fast fashion though, because she can't afford it. We don't have the money. Realistically, like it's actually like really difficult. We can save for it. It makes sense, but
mhm,
it's kind of like just talking about like there are what you said earlier, there are choices we can be making. My partner and I, we sit down and I can't tell you how many discussions we have about like, should we buy this item? Is it ethical to
mhm,
purchase this item? Where's this item coming from? So the rules we put in place as an example within our means is like local
mhm,
first, like focus on local first, then ask if it's fast fashion, then ask if we can find it somewhere different that's not local, that isn't fast fashion, then ask if it's in budget. And that's what we've been
mhm,
doing. And it's been good. I think we've done a really good job as a former Amazon every day at her door girly who we haven't done Amazon in a couple of years, except for like 3 or 4 really like I had no other choice feeling purchases.
yeah,
It's
yeah. That's
crazy.
where I'm at. Like I just want to say up front because like I really don't want to come off as like criticizing, like being mean about Chelsea
Never, never.
specifically.
Oh,
Like,
no.
I literally am not perfect either. And like, I question my own consumption. Like I'm flying to Turkey later this year.
Oh,
Like,
Turkey, have fun. Okay. Do you have family there or friends or?
no, my husband has a work conference, and so I was
Oh,
like, I can't turn
fun.
down like basically a half price trip to Turkey.
Yeah,
So,
fun.
but like I made a video on my channel about like whether like I feel weird about like having a hot tub that came with our
Sure.
house because like hot tubs are super energy intensive and like
Hmm.
I question my own consumption all the time and like I as much as I try to like follow BDS and like boycott Amazon like
Sure.
we do occasionally make Amazon purchases so like I'm not like I'm judging myself and criticizing myself just as much as
Yeah,
um
the
but
only I think that I agree with everything you just said, and I would just say that I do pay attention to Chelsea having over 1 million subscribers, and I think that
mm,
matters because
yeah, yeah,
her reach is different. You know what I'm saying? So
that's true.
her influence
Yeah.
is different, and that's the only reason Chelsea would be under more scrutiny given her position of power. But otherwise, generally, I hold a lot of compassion in my heart for how hard it is to be a good person. I think it's
Yeah.
really, really hard. Hmm.
And I do think Chelsea is a good person. Here's what I
Yeah,
think. I think that Chelsea, um, if she, because like I kind of understand why she justified the purchase, because like, I mean, she's not turning it into an Airbnb, which is good. And she's like claiming in her recent videos she wants to reduce her flying because she
hmm
was a
hmm
frequent flyer, like beforehand, and now that she has this home like she'll be flying a lot less, and so like in her mind that's like a way that justifies it, and her she does like literally have family in France, so I
Sure,
get it. I get it.
sure.
um but also like I kind of lost my train of thought.
That's
What were
okay.
you just
How
saying
do you
for this?
it's hard to be a good person, deeply compassionate. It's not,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. I think that if she like she she does talk about, systemic change and whatever. Like I think that she would vote to like increase her own taxes
for sure.
if they went towards like public services, free housing, like all that good stuff. So
Hmm.
like
Definitely.
I don't think that like she is as corrupt as like a lot of people in her, even in her exact income bracket.
For
Like,
sure. For sure. How do you feel about her wanting to apply to make the house a nonprofit?
that's where I kind of disagreed with you because like I get what you're saying, but I also think that like I don't think those were her intentions. I don't think she was like, let's do this so that we can get like tax breaks. Like I think that she was thinking, well, I don't want to make it an Airbnb. Like I want to do something good with it. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think and I try not to judge people exactly on what I would do because we're not the same people. It's hard for me because if I made it into nonprofit and it was a house I said I purchased and bragged about that my husband and I finally afforded it, it would be tax evasion. Because how could it not
Mm,
be? How could I say on one hand it's a family home for to see family, and on another hand, oh, but I'm going to turn it into a nonprofit? And it's like, so
I guess
which one is it?
I guess it's like what else could she do with the house if she's only living there half the year? Like let it sit empty? Like
Not buy it.
no, well, I mean, yeah.
Not spend 6 months a year in France. Like you know what I mean? Like not or spend it with family. But like, I think that's the problem is like, it's not a very commutative. She made an individual decision, not a collective one.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's why that's when I started to question like, oh, are you not a leftist? Like you're a liberal who is against fascism, but you're not a leftist who's about community, collective, like togetherness. So her solutions are me and my husband need a house an hour away from friends and family because, staying with them is drama. We are going to do this for our house. We are going to do this. And it's about the community. She's not a bad person for making liberal solutions in a conservative world. I'm not mad about that. What I'm doing is just putting a line in the sand of like, oh, see how her solution is this? Does this
Mhm.
align? Kind of like, I mean, with anything else with ethics, it's like, oh, what ethical bubble are you in? So there's nothing like Chelsea isn't an evil person.
Mhm.
I just need to draw a line in the sand so people know where I stand. Because I think what happens is like, I have been so lenient on people in the past. People think I'm like them. And I'm trying to just to make clear, I like them and here's where I am.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
my audience knows where to stand. Just like with the vegan thing, like When I am ready and it's embodied and it's real and it's authentic, I'll call myself vegan. But I'm not going to be a YouTuber anyone's going to make a video about like Brittany Simon says she was this, but she's living like this. Like I like to be consistent. So that's really the line I'm drawing. Not it's really not a judgment. Like I'm not trying to send anybody to hell, you know?
Yeah. I guess have you heard of like the one planet lifestyle concept?
No, tell me more.
So, I'm not a utilitarian. Like, I don't think that, like, I don't align with Peter Singer where he's like, literally any luxury purchase, any selfish purchase you make for yourself that just brings you happiness is unethical because that money could have been spent to like alleviate suffering elsewhere. I am more of like I take personal responsibility for like I don't want to cause harm, but like I'm not morally obligated to like alleviate all the suffering in the world.
Sure.
So where I kind of see it is the whole what is ethical consumption is like, are you consuming more than your fair share? And so what that means is like, you know, the one like the overshoot, Earth Overshoot Day. Have you heard of that before?
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
It's basically like how many Earths how many Earths would we require to like actually sustain our current level of consumption? So right now we're overshot by like 73%. So we would need 1.73 Earths to sustain our present consumption. But like it's super skewed because like much poorer countries are well below the 1 planet threshold. And then like wealthy countries like the United States are like, it would take like 5 Earths to maintain the average American's lifestyle.
Oops.
So Chelsea, in her most recent video where she was questioning her consumption, because now that she moved to France, she's living in a place where people are more like hyper aware of like Europeans have a culture of like they have trains, so they don't fly as much. They don't have air conditioning wasn't common. So they're a little bit more like, I don't know what the average European's consumption looks like exactly, but it's not as bad as America.
For sure. So, I mean, I live in Croatia, and just in this part of Europe, it's very different. There is just like such a difference. And we're living like, I would say that we try more to adapt to, I mean, my partner's Croatian, but I would say like, yeah, even like seeing his place for the first time or like how his parents live or anything, it's so like, not to romanticize it, because I think that's a dangerous thing that Americans do, but it just reminds you of home. I don't know if that makes sense, but it reminds me of like, I guess how my parents talk about Iraq or something, or like gathering with family. It's not about the bougie car. It's about the quality of time together, the quality of like life together. It's not even about a nice house. Like his parents have like a really old, beautiful European home that was like, used to be a business building or like a neighborhood building, but they convert them into apartments. That's a lot of the buildings here I've noticed is like these old buildings that get converted into something. It's like they reuse and reuse and reuse. And I love that. So there's a definitely different, or people always know I'm an American because of the way I walk. And they say you walk like you got to get somewhere. And versus, I remember when I first moved here, I remember we were at a cafe and we were drinking, you know, cappuccinos or whatever. And I was like, why are all these people here on an afternoon? And he's like, you're here on an afternoon. I was like, that's different. I work for myself. He's like, because, you know, they're having a coffee. And legit, I mean, people sit around and have a cappuccino for like 3 hours.
Yeah. It's a different culture.
You know, 1 cappuccino too. It's not like they're ordering 7.
Yeah.
They nurse it. So talk about even the consumption is even down to like not always having like it's not about getting fresh food. It's about having a moment with 1 single cappuccino, 1 cigarette, and like, or maybe the cigarette's what they have the most of. You know what I mean? Like it's very interesting, you know. But yeah, I think there's something there.
But I mean, even Europe though, like isn't living a 1 planet lifestyle. Like there was this book I read called The Day the World Stops Shopping, and it was all about just like how consumerism is fucking our planet.
True.
But he had a whole chapter on this, and he described like the lifestyle of Ecuadorians, because apparently the average Ecuadorian, their lifestyle is like globally replicable. So they are living in like within the means of the planet.
Love that.
And so he describes in great detail like what the average Ecuadorian lifestyle looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's a really nice like perspective to have because they're living like comfortably and they have like modern technology, but they don't have like certain luxuries that Americans just think are so normal.
Like, can you remember any of them? Like, can you give an example?
Flying, like they don't fly often at all. They don't really have air conditioning, which air conditioning has become a necessity in certain parts of the world, unfortunately. But they live like more communally with family, so they're not like living in just single family homes. Like it's a generational home.
Yeah.
And they like walk and take public transit and like maybe they'll rent a car to drive out into the mountains. They share a family computer. They don't eat out often. They don't eat a lot of meat. When they go out, he described there's like little food trucks and they had like reusable cutlery that you just like return back, like that kind of thing. And then I think Costa Rica also has a similar kind of lifestyle where they're very like well taken care of. Like they have good health care and they have decent public services, but they're not like over consuming.
Yeah.
So I think that back to like what Chelsea was saying about moving from the US to Europe, like having this evolution because you're now putting yourself in a different culture and you're now surrounded by people who are like kind of low-key judging Americans for their consumption habits and you're like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I view it is like when I look at my own consumption, I'm like, okay, am I over consuming to the point where like I don't want to live a life that's like I'm consuming more than my fair share. But unfortunately in the United States, it's like literally impossible to live a one planet lifestyle because like I live in a very car dependent area. And like there's no public transit. Like
Yeah. I mean, that's a serious issue, without a doubt. I am one of the reasons I ended up going plant-based was I did see one of the documentaries about overconsumption and how the meat industry is hurting the planet. And then I watched the one about like all of the fashion clothes ending up on beaches. And I was like, oh my God, like there's just so much stuff. And like, who's buying all this stuff? And I was like, I got to stop buying stuff. And then I was just like, okay. And then now it's about a balance of, you know, if I buy this piece of clothing, like how long are we going to have it? So my partner and I have a 5 to 10 year rule. Like we have to wear this for 5 to 10 years is like our goal. And I do still have dresses that I have from Goodwill or purchased new off the rack that I have had for like since I was 21 and I'm 37.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I have moved some clothes all the way, you know, like I've taken them. And I think like that's kind of how we do it. Again, it's not about being perfect. My philosophy is I try to be less bad every day. Because I think the road the road to hell is paved in good intentions. And I think that's part of the problem is like we have so many good intentions in the world. And I just want to recalibrate sort of what I think that means, including but not limited to when I'm criticizing someone. I try to be less bad in how I criticize people and also recognize that like it's layered as well. Because everything we put out in the world, it is partially also our lived experience. Like we're going through something. Like you said, Chelsea had a new move and all of a sudden she's like, hey guys, maybe I shouldn't fly anymore. And we're like, yeah, that's how life works. You go through a process, you learn something about life and all of a sudden your ethics change. And that's the question is like, you know, we talk about free will and if people can make choices. I don't think so. I think life has to happen in a way to get you to realize like, oh shoot, I got to change what I'm doing. And so this is why I don't look, you know, when my friends or family go on cruises, I'm just like, okay, like I get it. I'm not going to do it necessarily, you know, never say never, but I just don't have desires for multiple reasons, but I can see why you're doing that. And I can see why the system also, the whole like tourist system is like, you want to talk about dismantling systems? Tourism as a concept is such a hard thing to wrap our brain around because like people open businesses in neighborhoods for that business. You know, like people's housing availability crashes because of that business. Like environmental factors, like I know in Spain, There was a time when they were like water gunning tourists with spray guns with water and like, get out, because it's ruining the quality of life for locals. And I'm like, I don't blame them. You know what I mean? Like this idea of like, we should travel and we should see the world and we should learn other cultures. You're not doing that when you're being a tourist. What you're doing is you're just consuming and then leaving their resources. Like, you're consuming their resources
Right.
and leaving their land. And so like the question is, you know, this is all connected to capitalism really, but the question is like, how do we hold individuals accountable and recognize that these systems are also like, they train us since we're kids. What do you want to do when you're 18? Where do you want to travel? What countries do you want to see? Do you want to go on this tour with your school? You know, it's like, you know, so there's a lot of compassion to be had here.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like very, very normalized. It's
Very.
similar. Meat eating is like more so.
Yeah.
But it's kind of similar. Like, my awakening, I guess, like anti-capitalist awakening, happened after I had gone vegan.
Oh,
So like,
yeah.
I was in college. I went vegan when I was 18, freshman year of college, and I was so annoying. I was like an anti-woke lib
Love
in
that for you.
college. Like, I wasn't conservative. Like, I didn't think of myself as conservative, but I was definitely like annoying. Anyways,
Yeah.
but I shopped at, all the fast fashion brands like Forever 21,
Ugh,
H&M.
Forever 21. I probably spent $20,000 at Forever 21. Like, ridiculous.
And so when I went vegan, I was like, yes, like, align your actions with your values. And then people would, and this is kind of like a dishonest on their part, but when people are like, oh, vegans are hypocrites because you have a cell phone and you shop, you buy fast fashion and da 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 da. And like, at a certain point, I was like, oh shit, like, but I kind of am a hypocrite because like, I'm supporting literal like human slavery by buying these clothes.
Sure.
So when I quit fast fashion, that was like part of my evolution. And then I kind of...
How do you do it though? Can you go into that? Not to derail your thoughts, so you can come back to it. No. But how do you do it?
So I mean, I find it pretty easy to just shop exclusively secondhand. So just like, but in certain areas, like I lived in Denver for 10 years and like the thrifting there is great. Like,
I was going to say the thrifting has to be really good. I will say, I don't want to I
mean, I do think that people often make excuses before they've even really tried. Like,
for sure.
You're like, oh, the thrifting here is not good. It's like, well, have you actually
is it expensive where you are? Like, I know, because I've been a thrifter my whole life. Like, my mom's a thrifter. Like, we're big thrifter fans. But there were times when I even noticed, I was like, is it more expensive to go thrifting? What's happening? What's going on? Do you have that problem?
They've raised prices like at Goodwill. I know they, honestly, I'm like pro stealing shit from Goodwill.
Goodwill's very controversial. A lot of people don't want to support them either.
Like they literally, like if you can't afford, okay, maybe I shouldn't like tell people to do this because I don't want them to get arrested.
I didn't see nothing, hear something, smell nothing.
But like they're literally taking all these clothes as donations for free. Like they're getting all these clothes
and they're nonprofit.
And they're marking them up.
I know.
So like
that's what I'm saying.
What I recommend, I guess, is like if you think something is outrageously priced, you can literally just like rip off the tag, but then go check out. And the person at the front desk will be like, oh, the price isn't on here. Let me go check and see how much it is. And then the price they offer you is always lower.
Always lower. I'm telling you. There's something
like you're not actually stealing. You're just like making them like negotiate.
But that's what's so fucked up. That's what I'm saying about these like nonprofits. Like, again, I love a nonprofit, but like what kind of a nonprofit is it? And why are you doing it? And why are you a nonprofit? How many celebrities are we going to see start nonprofit churches just to move money around? You know what I'm saying? So I'm very suspicious when somebody, even with good intentions, says, oh, I'm starting a nonprofit. This is also my personal home. It's like, what is that? What is that? What does that mean? And so that's the only hesitation I have around like even relating it to Chelsea, but anybody that makes a decision where they said, I just threw $1 million at something. First of all, that alone, right? It's like, just buying a house for $1 million is crazy in this economy. And it's the second $1 million house. it's like, fuck, you know? And then it's just like a weird, like, wait, how does this roll into our ethics? But again, my personal ethics don't have to be other people's, but ethics at some point are about society. It's about what do we as a collective want to do? And then we'll let everyone figure out their own individual morals. So I would say, like, with secondhand, people are always telling me that, like, we shop secondhand in Croatia, shop secondhand. So Croatia is like a country of 4 million people. We live in a very specific part of Croatia. I have looked at their secondhand stuff, and yeah, there's going to be something that I'm going to see there that I'm going to like eventually. It's not the way people think it is, in the same way that where I live, I mean, they don't even have like stores the way people think they have stores, because Americans are like, I cannot even tell you how spoiled I was in America in terms of options. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even, I grew up in such a place with, like, you travel to go to shopping places with hundreds and 50 and just big stores, like so many options. They have rest
Yeah.
stops and food courts and places for you to, it's like you travel. Like, my aunties used to literally come travel from San Diego to Orange County to go visit these places just to do a big shopping day. Like, that's not happening
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
That's not what's
Well,
going on.
maybe the reason like thrifting is so good in the US is because we're a culture of hyper consumers. So there's just like so
I'm
much
just
stuff.
saying, I think that plays a role in it. You know what I
But I
mean?
do have a tip. I do have a
Tell me,
tip for
tell me.
people who are shopping secondhand. So I personally, um, I gotta try stuff on, right? And
Mm.
so if I'm at like a Goodwill, they got rid of all the what's it called? Changing rooms or dressing
Oh,
rooms.
sure.
And so I'll just wear like spandex shorts, and so I can just like try stuff, or and like a
Smart.
crop top or something. So I can just like try stuff on in the store. But then the other thing is, if you find like a pair of pants or something, and you're like, oh, these would be perfect if they were just like one size up or one size down, you can then search for that exact item on like Poshmark or Depop.
Oh, sure.
So if that's what I do. Like I don't buy stuff on Poshmark just like willy-nilly, because I know that like 80% chance it's not gonna look good on me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like because I can't try it on until it arrives. But if I try it on in a store and I'm like, okay, but like I need the next size up, then I'll get it on Poshmark. So and I it's worked like almost every time. Like
I love that.
if it's like a popular brand like
Mm.
American Eagle or
What is
something,
that?
like
I've heard this website, but I've never shopped on it before. What is Poshmark or Depop? Like, what, that sounds so familiar to me, but I don't know what
so
it is.
it's a secondhand online,
Oh.
like people do like thrift flipping. So they'll
Mm.
go to thrift
Oh.
stores, buy stuff super cheap, like the Goodwill bins. They'll go to like
Yeah.
thrift store, like the pre-thrift store, which is like just these giant bins that you have to like dig through, and you buy by the pound, and it's way cheaper. And so
Okay.
they'll get all these clothes and then they'll resell them at like a slightly higher price, but it's still, you're still saving money because it's going to be less than like the retail price.
Sure, sure, sure.
But yeah, it's just a secondhand online
Cool.
retail.
My chat's saying they love it, so that's
Yeah.
good. Okay.
And yeah, one other thing is shout out to Shell Bizzle on YouTube. She is all about like sustainability
Okay.
and like secondhand shopping. She's like one of my inspos like that led me down this path. So
Okay, love that. Love that. So how does this play into sort of like the larger conversation we're going to have here today? Because like this, when we talk about like individuals' responsibility, it's hard because people feel so exhausted from the economy and our options right now and everything going on. And then on top of that, it's like, oh, hey, even though these corporations aren't doing shit, I'm going to need you to take on the emotional, moral, and ethical burden of like your purchasing power, which you barely have because you make $7 an hour. Like, how do you find balance in that?
yeah. It's funny that you say that because I just mentioned Shell Bizzle. She has her little outro saying is do your best and advocate for the rest. So like
Ooh, love that.
do the best you can, and then where you feel like you can't, like you don't have the spoons or like you literally can't, just like focus on advocacy to like create the systemic change that we need to make it like actually feasible for everyone to shop this way. And like
Okay.
so that's, yeah, I guess I share that philosophy.
Okay, interesting. I don't know that creator, so I'll have to look them up and see what they're about. Okay, so I don't mean to ask all the questions, by the way. This isn't an interview. This is a conversation. Like,
No, you're good. You're good. I like
okay,
that it's super chill. It's just
is it okay, good. Because I was thinking about this because again, like when we have these conversations, at the end of the day, our feelings are so wrapped into how we show up in the world, and I think that plays a big role on why things happen the way they do. Ever since our conversation about veganism, ultimately, first I've been eating good, but I think that's like the first part to even thinking about being vegan, right? And the second part is just like thinking about, like I was thinking about leather the other day, and I was like, oh man, I used to dream of leather. And
interesting.
because like not like literally, but like I love leather. Like I've loved leather my whole life. And I was like, oh, like we're not doing leather anymore. And I was thinking about leather in that way. And then people were talking about secondhand leather. And I was wondering about your thoughts on this, like in terms of, yes, the vegan perspective, but also sustainability. What do you think about secondhand leather?
So I personally, like, I totally understand the ick factor, but I personally don't. I'm able to compartmentalize and just like numb myself.
Mm,
And just, I'm a supporter of secondhand first, and then, but I also think that like I want to support good quality vegan leather as options because, um, certain things you can't thrift as easily. Like, I mean, you can thrift shoes, but
sure.
I'm like a shoe minimalist. So I
Mm,
don't have a lot of shoes, and then I just wear like I buy basic versatile shoes that I wear the shit out of until
sure.
they're done. So I buy like vegan Doc Martens and like vegan Birkenstocks and
Okay. Is that what are your thoughts as it relates to the climate change about vegan leather? Because I bought something that was like a faux leather, and people were like, Brittany, it's so bad for the environment. I was like, oh shit, like,
that is a load of propaganda.
is it?
So yeah. I actually made a whole video about this on my main channel. So here's the thing. Everything
Okay.
has an environmental impact, right?
Yes.
So like certain there and vegan leather is like an umbrella term. Like there's low quality vegan leather. That's just like pleather, like polyurethane, just like plastic
Okay.
leather,
Sure.
right? And then there's like high-end vegan leather that still uses plastic, but like it's super long lasting and like high quality and like that's what I would like. I've had the vegan Doc Martens I've had for years and years have gotten so much wear and like
Mm,
they're still in great condition. There's no
love that.
peeling or anything. Same with my vegan Birkenstocks. Like they literally look like Birkenstocks. Like they are great. So people conflate like the cheap pleather that you get at like a fast fashion store, like cheap pleather sandals or belts that like peel,
That makes
and
sense. Yeah.
they just like conflate that with like vegan, and it's like, guys, you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Like,
good. Okay, I'll look into it
and
more because that makes sense.
also, as far as real, in quote, leather goes, like cow skin leather, incredibly bad for the environment. If you look at life cycle analysis, like if you look at the actual data, it's worse than even the worst quality pleather. Oops, sorry. Um, because I mean, first of all, farming cows is like incredibly resource intensive, like land, water use, all of that. And then also people think that it's a byproduct of the meat industry, but that's not true. It's actually a co-product, which means the meat industry would not be nearly as profitable without the sale of leather.
Oh,
So leather like supports their profits like immensely. So you are like hurting the whole industry by withdrawal, like by boycotting leather.
whoa.
So the other thing is the tanning process. So when people are like, "Oh, leather is sustainable because it's biodegradable, it's natural." It's like it is not biodegradable because in order for it to be so long lasting, which that's what they claim, they're like, "Oh, it lasts forever." It's like if it's biodegradable, that means it's going to biodegrade. If like it
Yeah.
lasts 100 years, you did something to it to make it not biodegradable,
Oops.
which is you put like a shitload of tanning chemicals and like
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
layer of plastic polyurethane finish to preserve it so that it lasts. And therefore you can't compost your leather shoes once you've worn them out. Like, that's not how this works. So people are just like thinking about it so simplistically, and it's
Yeah.
based on their like, bias, their like carnism. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. You are making me realize, like, oh yeah, I did hear that stuff growing up. And now that I think about it, it doesn't really make that much sense. But I don't know. I'm not educated enough. So yes, that makes sense, you know? Oh, damn. Okay. Okay. What thoughts did you want to talk about for this conversation too? I don't want to, you know, have it be the Brittany asks question show alone, because I'm going to run out of questions.
No, this is great. I also have a hard stop at 1. So yeah, we can't talk
Was
too
that,
long.
is that one? Okay. Okay. Perfect.
I
Okay.
mean, we have
That's
plenty of
1
time, I'm
Eastern.
just saying.
Okay. 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 Perfect.
But yeah, I mean, we can also answer questions from the chat, or
That's true too, guys. If you want to ask questions, we can do that as well. It will take a time because the chat is slightly delayed with the timing, so they won't be able to answer right away. But yeah, if they have if I see questions, I'll ask.
Talk a little bit about do you remember the socialism means no house debacle with Hassan?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah. I think like, I mean, Hassan did buy that home. Does he not live there with his whole family?
he does. He has his mom, dad, and his friend Austin.
Yeah. So like, I just think it's interesting because I think that both sides were being a little bit like, some people are being a little bit extreme in criticizing him for buying a house. It's like, well, like, it's just it's one home. This isn't his second home. You know what I mean? Like, it's also a multi-generational home. Like, it's also in an area that is like pretty, you know, high cost, like high housing costs. So like, I you know, don't think that purchase was like super egregious or anything. But at the same time,
hold on.
like,
wait. My chat is saying Austin does not live with him. The Lebanese Austin. He's always saying I'm live with Hassan. Hassan, should I leave? Are you guys, am I confused? He's always like, Hassan, should I move out? Or is it okay that I live here? And he always says when him and his dad talk in Turkish, he always feels left out. Am I confused? Did he move out? It doesn't matter. I'm not parasocial. I don't know things. I just know TikTok.
I honestly don't.
I just know TikTok.
Watch a ton of Hassan,
I don't watch Hassan like that. So I don't know. TikTok just fed me this story that Austin lives there. I don't know. Ask TikTok. But I will just say, my bad if he doesn't live there. But no, I think you're right. People were like, he always says, we're not a cult poverty or a poverty cult. That's what that's what Hassan says. So, so go ahead.
I think that like it's really interesting because while I do defend his purchase of that home, I also agree with you that like he makes way too much money.
Look, and I don't think listen.
Like
and
$2 million a year. I'm like, guys, why are you donating to Hassan? Like,
that's
donate
the question.
To streamers that aren't.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying because I think Hassan's fan base isn't leftist.
Yeah.
The way he argues with his chat about Black liberation of Black philosophers and has to defend Black philosophers to his chat is like, tells me that the majority of his chat are liberals who are not leftists, and then haters, and then some leftists. And so I don't blame him for his chat. He's very famous. He has a lot of people who watch him, right? I don't blame him for that. I think the issue is, though, he benefits from all of the things that we're trying to dismantle in this country in many ways. So again, I want to make sure that when I criticize Hassan, I don't want Hassan haters to think I'm on their side, because they're disgusting. These people who are obsessed with Hassan, who lie about Hassan, they're disgusting. With that said, I do find it interesting, sort of. I will say, when they doxed his house recently, did you see it?
No, I didn't.
It's a basic LA home. It's not even in a gated community. It's not even a mansion. It's not even any of the things that people try to say. It's just a regular LA home. Could he have found a home that wasn't $3 million somewhere else? Definitely, right? Probably in Orange County, maybe South, maybe in Winchester, maybe in San Diego, maybe not in LA. But then he wouldn't have been in LA. But then the question is, maybe transplants shouldn't live in LA, right? Then the question becomes, maybe people should stop moving to LA and gentrifying it for all the locals there. This is layered.
I mean, the house already existed too. It's not like he built a home.
The house already existed. You know, and that's the other part too. Like, there's so many layers to this. I think the problem is like people are understanding that Hassan is also a symptom. Like, people donating to a millionaire is already a symptom of the system. Because you're right. Why are you donating to a guy who minimum makes $2 million on donations?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, what about reallocating like resources? And I'm not even talking about like again, I'm not even saying, because I know some people are like, oh, do you want people to donate to you? No, I don't do political content. You would donate to other political streamers in this space that you want to give prominence to, right? Especially when, he'll make shopping haul videos with his friends, and then, they'll spend thousands of dollars on items, and he'll be like, oh yeah, like, he's not exactly not an overconsumer. Like, Hassan isn't,
Right.
So again, when we have these conversations, it's just like, where is the embodiment, and what does it really look like? And does it have to look like a monk, meditating in the mountains?
That's what I'm trying to do with my Degrowth Diaries channel, is like, when I moved back home, I live in Georgia now. I bought this home and I was like, I feel like this is peak luxury. Like, I don't need anything else. Like, this is like, I have a home, it's beautiful, I have everything I need. Like, I don't need to like I need money to like pay my bills, but like keep like trying to strive for a higher standard of living, And so I wanted to kind of show like what that looks like in my vlogs, like you can live a really comfortable life without like being an overconsumer. I don't know, like,
how do you feel?
Not that I'm perfect. I might be slightly like I said, it's really difficult in the United States. Like, I have to drive a car. Like,
sure,
I'm not perfect.
Yeah,
but, like.
Well, even here, okay, two things. One, that bookshelf behind you, some people were like, what about over-consuming books? Because I used to dream of having a library in my house with all these books. And I used to haul like my 2,000 books around with me as I moved. And eventually I gave them away because I was like, I can't be hauling 2,000 books with me. That's crazy. You know what I mean? That's just insane.
Can I defend my bookshelf?
Absolutely you can, because I kind of want one too.
Here's the thing about my books, okay? I am cheap. Well, I'm very frugal, so I don't like paying for things.
Sure.
So those books that I have, I've either had for years and like kept, and then I use Libby, which is a library app. So I have a Kindle, which is secondhand. Actually, my mom might have got it for Christmas for me. But anyways, okay. I had it for a long time. So I read on my Kindle, and then if there are, like, I knew that I wanted to start like a booktube, like be a booktuber or whatever. So I was like, okay, what kind of background? I like want a bookshelf. And I was like, ooh, I want to get like all my favorite books, my favorite, just like if I love a book, I want to buy it for my bookshelf. And so I bought like most of the books on my bookshelf were bought secondhand or thrifted.
Love that. Yeah, same. I bought a lot of books at thrift stores or secondhand.
I wanted like a hard copy of like my favorite books, And so most of them, I've read most of them, but some of them I just found at the thrift store and I was like, this looks interesting. Bought it. But it's just funny because like, yes, I am against overconsumption of books. Like I see these book talk people that have like these massive bookshelves, and they're buying all these like special edition copies with like frayed edges, and they like have like they're going to like Barnes and Noble and buying like hundreds of dollars of like these new books. And I'm like, guys, like you don't need to give Emily Henry more money. Like she's good. Like I'm not I like Emily. I don't know if you know who that is.
No, I don't know her work. Yeah.
She's like a really popular like romance, like rom-com author or whatever.
Okay.
But like she has plenty of like she's very successful. You don't need to like rush out to buy all of her newest edition.
Yeah. Well, that's how they get you. That's how they get you. Because like even I've been like sucked into those things 100 times in my life, where I was like, I need this cover and this one's $20 more, but it's worth it, and it'll be a collector's item. And then I was like, and then here I was moving to Europe, and I couldn't take everything with me, and I was like, well, it's stuff is stuff, and that's the thing about stuff. Now I have two questions from chat that I think are interesting. The first is going back to that comment about Hassan's house. They bring up a great point about like the home was a new build. It was $3 million. It's a part of gentrification in LA, and that's true, right? Homes in LA are outrageous, but they're not $3 million. I mean, some are, that is true, but that's because of gentrification. How does that play into sort of like our obligation of like, okay, I always think this is just really fast. Like, I think if you're a streamer, you can live anywhere. So why are you living there? And this idea of like, oh, well, I built community and I have resources. So you're in it for your job. So then the job takes precedent over the activism. Because realistically, like there are plenty of successful streamers who don't need to live in LA. You know what I mean? You don't have to live there. So by making the choice to live there when you're not a local, you're a plant or a transplant, and you're contributing to gentrification, like how does it play a role in sort of your ideal version of leftism?
No, I really don't know, because like migration is just like a part of human behavior. Like I don't think we have to feel like guilty for wanting to move somewhere. Like
Sure.
I don't think we should feel like unwelcome places. Like
Sure.
if you're literally gentrifying an area and like yeah, it's like he didn't build this house. He didn't like go and build this house. You know what I mean? I feel like, yeah, you can't really be accused of gentrification if you didn't like build the house or like,
well, maybe we have a different definition of gentrification, but like if you move into a neighborhood, as an example, not necessarily Hassan, but if you move into a neighborhood has lower income people, and you move in with your money and you set a precedent of changing the neighborhood or buying up other neighborhoods and people start to notice, then it will naturally rise prices. I mean, that's how housing works, right? You move into a neighborhood, you start making it look different or standing out or painting it a new color because you have the money. And now the neighborhood starts to have an expectation. And so like, it feels like you don't have to build the house to contribute to gentrification, right? You could be a landlord who walks in and raises rent on the locals, and then other landlords start to raise the rent because you raise the rent. Like, it doesn't have to look like building the home, right? You know what I'm saying? But I wonder, because I think these are the harder questions to answer about like what's our direct responsibility. I understand that Hassan necessarily couldn't have moved into a suburb where people would be able to stalk him or harass him or bother his neighbors. I think that's some part of this conversation, right? Like realistically, most YouTubers end up living in places where it's not that easy to bother people. With that said, all the same, he could have moved to a place where eventually, you know, it was just a house and it wasn't necessarily in LA in the way that it looks. I don't know. There's something here that I think is fair to ask that doesn't have to like condemn him for buying a house. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just don't know if I have an answer, honestly. 'Cause,
Sure,
like,
sure.
I feel like I'm just as much of a like my choices are just as questionable sometimes because
Mm,
like I am all about like I understand that like single family homes are not sustainable. Like I completely understand living in a car dependent area in a single family cabin in the woods. Like that's like a home like homesteading is not sustainable. Like we need to be living in these like communal homes in cities within like like have like libraries, not just of books, but like of
sure.
I don't know. We need like much more condensed housing and all of that. But like as an individual, like I literally am forced to make like individualistic choices, and like I did choose to buy a single family home, and like
Yeah.
I just
I don't
feel like
think,
I view
well, maybe,
Hassan's choices the same as mine.
okay,
Like
maybe another way to look at it, because I've been thinking about this, is like maybe Hassan or rich people can think about buying a home as if they weren't rich.
mm-hmm.
So maybe instead of buying a home that's $3 million of his cash, he could buy a home that somebody making $500,000 could afford, or $200,000 could afford, or $100,000 could afford, and then spend the rest of that money buying a house for somebody else, donating it.
Is that not Peter Singer's argument though?
No, because
I
I think he's making a prescription that you ought to, and I'm saying, why don't you? Which is different. Like, what's the thinking? Like,
yeah.
Like if I made $5 million, like Charlie Penguin Zero, I think he made, what was it, guys, $31 million on AdSense alone in 5 years. If I made that much money, he turned off his AdSense. That's what he did. He's like, don't give me more money. I don't want it. No more donations. I don't care. I'm rich. That was cool. But he also made $31 million. So like, okay, whatever it was. Okay, if I made that much money, like realistically, like I don't need that money. I'm not saying I ought to give it away because someone told me. I'm saying like, what do you want me to do with it except give it away?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I supposed to do with it? Die rich,
Yeah. It's like what obligation? I mean, that goes back to like the one planet lifestyle, the thing about like Hassan, like if I mean it's a multi-generational home, if
Which
they
is
put
great.
solar panels diet, and if he reduced his consumption and started talking about like the importance of, you know, secondhand shopping and veganism and da 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 da, like I think that then he could take all that money, because right now he's spending it on like luxury whatever. Like he could, yeah, I mean he could donate it. But what's interesting is I think I'm not saying this is you,
Yeah.
but I think that there are critics of Hassan who are like, oh, like, you're a hypocrite, you are too rich, blah de da de da.
Sure.
I think a lot of these people, if they were put in his shoes, they would be doing the exact same thing.
Oh, 100%. Well, I think that's the thing though.
But
But listen to what you just said, right? That's my issue. They would be doing what he would be doing. So why is he doing it?
Okay. So what?
So why is he doing it? Because if his ops would do that, if they were in his position, that means he's doing what his ops would be doing.
Well, his leftist critics who are like,
you don't think?
I think a lot of leftists, like, actually, like, I think a lot of people who, especially, I see this because there's a lot of non-vegan leftists who refuse to even change what they're eating for breakfast.
I see.
I don't think they have the moral fortitude to like donate all their money to charity if they were in Hassan's position. I think the reason they're able to make these critiques is because they don't have money. So like,
I think that could be true, right? And I don't want to I think it's important to separate us from those people. I think that is important. And I do think I think it's difficult because like I was talking about this about my Chelsea Fagan video. So he's making $2 million a year. She's making 350. I'm chill if I make anywhere from 60 to 80. Like I'm like living my best life. Okay. Right. Like that. And that's a lot. Like that's compared to what I used to make, like a lot of money, right? Depending on where it lands. Keep in mind that's before tax. Right. So again, like we're living very different lives. And I'm saying it's interesting though, that the expectation is like, he's not supposed to change. Like I am doing more given my income than the guy making more. The question is, why is that always happening? Why is it always happening that the people with the most privilege seem to not be the most in line? Like one of the things I'm trying to say about not Hassan, but the Hassan machine of like his viewers bragging he works 7 days a week. Why would you work 7 days a week if you weren't a capitalist?
Yeah, that is interesting. That's something I felt like myself with the toxic productivity of it. Is like, it's ironic how much I slip into that myself, where like,
can you afford to not work? Look, I can't afford it. I have to work 6 days a week.
Right now, I don't make, so I have a part-time job selling solar.
Oh, cool.
And I don't get paid till installs, and I haven't had
what I'm saying. Like, can you even afford to take a day off?
A ton of installs this year because Trump cut the freaking cut
so
tax credit.
Saying. Like, you see how
I don't make, and right now on like I do want to build up somewhat of a like I want to be able to make money off my labor with like Patreon only, because I refuse to do ads. I'm so anti-ads. I'm like, I can't. I know some people have to, but like I don't have to, so like I don't want to.
Right.
But my husband makes decent enough money to where like right now like I can work without pay. You know what I mean? And so, wait, what was your question exactly?
I'm saying like the standard we hold ourselves to, the reason that from a leftist perspective, we're looking for embodied, or at least I'm looking for embodied, is because of those differences.
So you're saying you have to hustle to survive. I right now like don't, but I feel like this drive, and it's almost, I think Hassan may have the same motivations, because like I think he does have like a good heart and like wants to spread like the message. And that's kind of where I'm at, is like I want to grow my YouTube channel because I like want to share this message that I think is like anti-capitalist messaging. And with that comes like a little bit of like a hustle, like you gotta like work.
No, it does. But
it's hard to reject. Like I do try to reject it, but like it is hard, especially when you're like motivated for altruistic reasons. Like, not that I'm purely motivated by altruism, but like you feel like, well, if I'm so lucky and privileged, like, if I don't work, then like, should I not be using my free time to like make life easier for other people? So you feel like this moral like obligation almost to like work more towards for the cause. You know what I'm saying?
I think people can get trapped in that, but then I would say it's not embodied values, because then the point of it is that you're chasing some sort of validation, fear, or pressure from the community rather than having an embodied value where you lead by example. So I would say that's the issue. The issue isn't that Hassan Piker is struggling. The issue is that Hassan Piker is the guy. Like, if you're going to be the guy, then your standard of expectation has to change. And then the question is, why did Hassan become the guy? Because of white supremacy and pretty privilege and opportunity. And he was there and nobody checks his misogyny. And because, you know, he's popular.
Is it kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't? Because like if he wasn't.
No, I think, okay. When I think about ethics, though they're subjective, and I think about embodied values, I think your life is a reflection of those choices. And within reason, we make exceptions. But if your life is an exception as a whole, then you're not making exceptions. That is just your life. And so if you look at Hassan as a leftist leader, okay, he's not, it doesn't make sense. Like Dr. Jared Ball says, you can't be rich, radical, and an activist at the same time. And I think about this all the time because I agree with this. And I was like, yeah, like why you? Oh no, rich, famous, and an activist or a revolutionary. Sorry to misquote him, but I think that's really important. Is like, how can you be rich, famous, and a revolutionary? Like, how can you be rich, famous, and an activist? How can you be rich, famous, and then Hassan is rich and famous and? So then how is he doing it? Because how are you becoming so popular and so well-liked and so rich if you're being truly revolutionary in the face of capitalism, in the face of white supremacy, in the face of, you know, so even as a vegan.
What about like Greta Thunberg? Because like, I mean, she is very famous, but she's very true to her values. Like she's living her values. Like
yeah, well, I think
what I can think of. Like
I think Greta uses her. Thank you, Chad. Rich, famous, and radical. Thank you, Chad. Rich, famous, and radical. I think Greta used her position of privilege. Sorry.
Yeah, right. So maybe that's it. And also, Greta's also risking her literal life in like a larger capacity than Hassan and I are. Like, look, I am just as likely to get shot by a stalker as Hassan might be more likely to get shot by a political adversary, as much as Greta might be killed by Israel. Like, ultimately, Greta is putting her whole physical body. She has been how many times arrested? Like she's having a different experience, right? I think she comes from a privileged background, but I don't know if Greta's net worth is $8 million. I don't think so, right? Yeah, like Hassan's is. So when we have conversations, and I don't know how much his real net worth is. I don't know how much anyone's real net worth is based off Google. But when we have these conversations, I think like Greta is still just a white woman in this space, in a privileged position to do this thing. And she is less likely to die by the hands of Israel because she will be noticed. And so again, when we have conversations, it's like her privilege also allows her to risk her life because they probably won't take it. There's some intersection here at play. Well, because of everything. Like ultimately, like she's like, there is just like this reality where, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to be perfect. I don't think they can be. I want like when I see Hassan, I don't know what his values are. Like, I think I know what he's telling me they are, but I don't see them. But when I see like you or Elle, like I can kind of get it. Like I'm getting to know you more in this moment, actually, where I'm like, okay, I'm really getting Catherine. I think I'm getting it. But with Hassan, I'm like, so why do you do it? Why do you wake up every day? Why do you fight for this? How does it show up in your real life? It's same with Chelsea. Like, I think there's something so authentic about Chelsea, but sometimes I'm like, I don't get what you believe. It's just a little confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's all I'm saying about most people, though. I don't think that's unique to them. I think that's most people. As a person who has been discussing ethics for like so long in my life, most people don't even know half the questions I ask people. They're like, I never thought about that. I'm like, that's fine. But if we're not thinking about it and we're being advocates, myself included, then the question is, what am I advocating for when I say I'm a leftist? Which is something we came across with the intersection of white supremacy and anti-blackness, where I feel like a lot of the leftists on the internet are super fucking racist. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like the way they discount Black pain, the way they discount Black philosophy and Black liberation makes me think like they call it identity politics. Like, yeah, I hear you. I know liberals engage in identity politics, but hey, seriously? Like gentrification is really destroying whole populations of people. There is a genocide and attack on Black people in this country. So like, this is so serious to me that it feels like, oh, the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, oh, we got to do something. I would think triply, doubly where I live. Like even in Croatia, my partner and I are like, where is it ethical to buy? Is it ethical to buy? Is it more ethical to be a long life renter? Like we're running all the stats of like, what is the best thing within our values? So, okay, that's the point. Within our values that also overlap with this thing called leftism or anti-capitalism. So the question is, when we assess people and ourselves, the question is like, where's the line between what you believe and how does it match this movement? But mostly like, how does it reflect what comes out of your mouth in terms of what you believe? That's more or less what I'm thinking, just to be clear.
I think with people like Hassan, and I think also like Kyle Klinsky, because I do listen to a lot of these types of people, I do respect them a lot in a lot of ways, but I think that they are sometimes like, and it comes from not a nefarious, like evil intentioned place. It comes from like a genuine care to like win and like grow the movement. And so I think that sometimes they can slip into just caring about more about what's popular than what's right, because they want to like talk to like they're populists, right? Like they want it to be like a big tent, as big of a tent as possible. But I think sometimes in doing that, you then start advocating for things that are like not good just because, at the end of the day, like you kind of have to prioritize what's right slightly above what's popular. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think so.
How do we balance that though? Because like, obviously we don't want to be like, there has to be some people in the movement who are more, at least who are more code as centrist or moderate. Like, because nobody's going to elect me because I'm way too radical.
Sure.
They're going to see my channel and be like, degrowth? No. Vegan? No. Like, like this bitch is crazy. Like, I'm not like cut out to run for office. But like, I think with Hassan and like AOC and like I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think I already.
Yeah. Okay. There's a couple layers to this really fast. And I'm sorry, Chad distracted me for just a second. Hey, anybody who spreads that lie about Hassan abusing his dog, I will block the fuck out of you. And my mods, if you see it, block them. Okay? Don't come on my chat and talk about how Hassan abused his dog. Like, I don't want that conversation happening in my chat because you don't know that. And you could say you saw that, but you don't know that. Okay? Because that's not exactly what we know happened. You leave Kaya's name out of your mouth, okay? I don't want any of those people in my chat. You guys are crazy. Just like lock in, okay? When it comes to like AOC as an example, this is a really good example actually, because she just decided to double down and throw everybody under the bus. Like, here's my question. When you think about your work, is the priority prioritizing the suffering of like the planet, non-human animals, marginalized people? Like, what's the priority in the work? Because AOC just told us it was her getting elected recently. And I'm talking about radical. So radical that AOC isn't good enough.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. And like her, Mamdani even, God bless him, but Mamdani just threw people under the bus too about abolish the police. No, abolish the police.
That was like the kind of the point I was making is like, do they kind of almost have to? Like, because someone like you or someone like me, we're not going to get elected. So like,
first of all, I'm not going to get elected because I'm not running.
Well, yeah, but like I think that if you look at, I've heard Marxists say this before, but like when it comes to like electoral politics, like you're picking your enemy.
Sure.
So like I'd much rather have AOC as my enemy than like.
So this is all about harm reduction voting. This is about everything. So again, if you're engaging in politics, you're aiming to win or you're aiming to radicalize, right?
Right.
So,
right.
So that's, we all know this, like with the Kamala Harris run and that whole thing happened. Like, I respect Arab communities for not voting for Harris. I did vote for her because in that moment I was like, we're going to deal with Harris after. And I still acknowledge that I probably wouldn't do it today.
Interesting. Yeah, I did
Because,
also for that reason.
Well, here's the thing though, like ultimately.
That's a really good point which you just made about some people are meant to radicalize, some people are more for prioritizing winning.
Right.
But like, we kind of have to have both. Right?
I don't know that we have to have both. I think the fact that we keep choosing both is part of the problem. Like, if Democrats truly wanted to motivate and inspire people, but they can't because they're part of the system, they would actually pick radical candidates who radically believe in compassion and love and housing and all these things. Like, instead of trying to cater to conservatives, right? Who they would just go radically like, we're going to help you. I know you don't believe us. We're going to get you healthcare. And they would inspire all the people who are staying home and not voting. Because remember, like, a lot of people aren't voting because they know it's bullshit. And I'm saying they know it's bullshit because you keep bullshitting them. And I'm saying most Americans don't vote. Most adult voters, eligible voters, aren't even involved in politics. So imagine an America where you actually got people, including marginalized people, to show up and vote and participate in the system because they know you're actually going to do something. How many years are immigrants going to wait? How many years are Black people going to wait? How many years are trans people going to wait? How many years is everybody going to wait? You know, they kept telling us to wait. James Baldwin has this beautiful quote. Yeah, James Baldwin has this great quote where he says, like, they keep telling me just to wait a little longer, a little longer, a little young. He's dead. So again, like when we say we need both, I'm going to say we have both because we're not yet there. Like, again, Kamala Harris would have been a temporary relief from the next 30 years of America anyways. It wouldn't have been real. And it wouldn't even been a real relief. It would have been a drop of water in a scorching hot tub, you know? But what was really happening, you know?
There is a difference though between like, because I'm not saying, oh, we need a centrist like Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris. No, like we need like an AOC is a centrist in my book. Like, she's obviously much better than, like, I trust her much more than I trust Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton. So I feel like on some level.
What are you trusting her with, if I can ask? What do you mean?
Healthcare and like she seems pretty aligned with Mom Donnie, and Mom Donnie has done a lot of good so far.
Sure.
So I feel like I understand that like we got gaslit by centrists who are like, oh, we have to go with Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders because she's more electable. But like Bernie Sanders was very electable. And he is actually a moderate in terms of like the true political spectrum.
Yeah, right? I mean, I caucused for Bernie when it was happening, and then I ended up supporting Hillary when he wasn't the candidate.
Bernie Sanders like isn't the most perfect, aligned, embodied.
No,
he's Greta, right?
I mean, like, well, even Greta isn't Greta, right? Like, she's at the end of the day, like, that's the problem is like we can't pedestal anybody. It shouldn't be about one person. It should be about a collective movement.
Right. But even, that's what's great about Greta is she knows that.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, she's also not a politician, right? She's not running for office. So I think that's the problem. Is like Hassan at the end of the day isn't running for office. That's why I'm saying like ultimately when we have these conversations and we talk about embodied values, like the world is a reflection of us as a whole, and America is like a racist, horrible fucking place. But it is like many other places on the planet, except it's the superpower and it has nukes and it's threatening everybody. So, and we're part of that. So even like that conversation is so important, but I think this plays into over-consuming politics, over-consuming political content like it's an item you're buying from the store instead of recognizing it's supposed to educate you to do something in your community. Like this channel, I've been saying this a lot on my channel, like this isn't where shit happens. Yeah. This is where you come together tools to take back to your real life, myself included. My chat educates me constantly, and I'm putting tools in my basket and taking it into my real life, my real community, my real local, you know, and that's what I want for what we're doing, for what Hassan is doing, for what I just think there's a lot of ultimately there's not enough humility in any of these spaces. But that's why I love embodied values, because it's a kind of a statement of humility. Like somebody in chat asked me to ask you about your veganism, right? Like what is I think they said, sorry chat, I lost it already, but something like, what's the end goal of your veganism? Like, what does it look like, your activism in relation to veganism?
I mean, I had done a lot of animal rights activism prior. And right now, like I don't do a lot of animal rights activism. I mean, I live in the woods. Like,
Yeah.
I'm focused on other things. Like,
Sure.
right now I'm focused on my Degrowth Diaries channel. But I mean, I don't want to like spoil things, but I do want to eventually write a book about animal rights.
Great.
But I mean, end goal, like what is my end goal, or like what is the vegan movement's end goal?
What do you think that question means?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to see in my lifetime at least like veganism be taken a lot more seriously by the left, because it is like an inherently leftist, progressive, like radical value. And right now it's just seen as like it's ignored. And then the leftists turn into conservatives when it comes to veganism. Like they start spouting all the conservative talking points. Like
it's literally so true. You want to talk about overconsumption? Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. So don't you think that's how I think about it? Like, man, if this is really my value, like, and again, values are subjective, they can change. No one's saying they're concrete, but it's a challenge. That's why philosophy is annoying, because you actually have to challenge yourself and say, like, wait, if this is my value, how do I make it work within reason? And I think like it was eventually, when I was ready, it was easy enough to go plant-based, right? Like that was like, okay, that's easy. But it wasn't easy my whole life. It was very hard. It was very like, why would I even do that? Right. But then everything started to click. Okay. Who knows who I'll be in a few years, but that coincides so perfectly with my leftist value. I'm like, oh, perfect. This is so perfect in line with what I'm doing. You know?
Yes, and that's actually why I built this second channel, is because my first channel was so like animal rights focused. Like I would make anti-capitalist videos occasionally, but my audience was primarily vegan. And I was like, I mean, I have different interests in general, but like I'm really passionate about, degrowth and everything, because I majored in environmental economics. Like that's just my special interest.
No wonder you have a special interest. I can see in the way you talk that it's definitely a focus for you. Oh, I see.
I really wanted to also kind of separate myself from my other channel, just because I had that channel when I had another job that was taking up all my time. So I didn't get to prioritize it. The production value was shit. Like Sure. And so I wanted to like start a fresh new channel that's like I'm taking a lot more seriously, because I want to build a non-vegan audience. I don't want to just be preaching to the choir. Sure. And then I want to like, because there's this girl that I follow on Instagram. She talks about like the trad wife, like alt-right pipeline, where like you start out, you hear like certain you see certain content that's like just like general lifestyle content, but it has like a hint of like I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, I think I've either seen this video or TikTok or Instagram or something. But yeah, it gets you. That's how they get you.
Like, and she had this post where she was talking. She actually shared a study where it was like people who are seen as lifestyle influencers are actually a lot more effective in persuading people to move towards the right than they are than like overtly political commentators. So like people who are overtly political and like talking about right-wing politics, they're just preaching to the choir. They're attracting an already right-wing audience.
Yeah.
But these lifestyle mommy vloggers that are just making like makeup content and like talking about parenting or whatever, but then like occasionally slip in their thoughts on like the divine feminine and masculine roles, and how like they're happier to like just kind of submit to their husbands or whatever. It's like they are more effective at persuasion. Sure. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I mean, I do post very overtly political content over here, but yeah, I don't post overtly animal rights related content on my second channel. So I was like, oh, I wanna be like that embodied vegan, but like not like obviously vegan branded
Sure.
channel, you
Sure.
know?
Well,
So
it's
I hope,
different. Like
actually,
starting a second channel definitely helped me because I kept trying to put everything in one channel and the algorithm just didn't know where to put me. They didn't know how to find my audience. So it is good. It is good to separate things and to say that I'm, you know, I'm all these different people. So even from a strategy perspective, it's smart to do.
Yeah, and I've already attracted like a mostly non-vegan audience, so I'm like, okay, that's a good sign, I think, because I don't want to just preaching to the choir.
Well, okay, so this leads me into that question then. So would you say like with my work, I don't make prescriptions or tell people what to do. It's like a rule of mine, unless they tell me what their goal is, and then I'm like, okay, so if your goal is this, you want to do this, which is why I always ask people like, so if your goal is this, then how does this play into that goal? Because my autistic brain is goal oriented. Like if I don't know what I'm doing, or even a conversation, if I don't know where the conversation is going, like I zone out. Like, I got to know what the goal is. What's the goal? I got to pay attention, like top down. Like, what are we doing? You know, I got to figure it out. So with your channel and your work, it sounds like if you're trying to reach an audience that doesn't already agree with you, it sounds like you are trying to change minds.
Yeah, I mean, I want to find leftists who obviously are going to be attracted to my channel because they do agree with me on that topic. But then hopefully through that, I can then, when if I publish my book, I publish my book, I do want to persuade leftists to take animal rights more seriously. So that is one of my primary goals.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Giving away all my secrets here on Brittany Simon's channel.
Well, here's the question though. Like that's the funny thing about being here and asking for people's attention and people's time and taking precious moments out of their day so they can watch our faces. It's like, why should they, you know? And I always tell people like, I want my content to be a place that's worth your limited time on earth. You know, like even if it's,
I love your stuff.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, we did notice the quality of your video when we watched it because we had just come from a Chelsea Fagan video. God bless her. She needs help. And then we switched over to your video. And we're like, oh, quality mic, quality camera.
Thank you. I've been on such a journey with audio because my audio was trash and I would always get comments like, you sound like you're in a toilet bowl.
Yes. Audio is everything, literally more than your camera quality. If your audio sucks, that's it. It's over.
Yeah, but I even get comments still, even though I'm like trying, I'm doing so much, and people will still be like, your voice it sounds like there's so many mouth noises. I'm like,
maybe it's just also misogyny. Like, don't ever underestimate the power of misogyny. Don't ever.
Dude, you mentioned your analytics. I think, I forget what video it was, but you were like, you have a lot of women.
Oh, yeah, I do, girl.
My analytics are scary right now. It's like 85% men.
I'm terrified for you. So I used to have, go ahead, tell me.
How do I attract more women?
Okay, well, first of all, I used to have I've been on YouTube a long time, so I've had a lot of male audiences. Worst years of my life. My mental health was always in the toilet. Worst years of my life, okay? I think what I did is, one, I shit on men a lot. That really helps. I shit on patriarchy a lot. Okay, I think it really helps. I'm also queer and I try to make my channel as gay as possible. That very much helps. Okay. The flag in the corner makes men hate me. The moment they see my video, they're like, fuck her. And I'm like, thank you. Bye-bye. Like, leave. So that helps. I try to make sure that I'm always centering. I call everybody girls.
See, I don't know if I want to necessarily like detract.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
like, I want both.
Sure.
But I don't want 85%.
Sure. I think ultimately it will, you don't know yet. I would say give it 6 months to really even know who your audience might be. But I'll say this, on my second channel where I do bi-monthly videos that are very like edited commentary videos. Those videos, they'll get like 500,000 views or whatever else. They're doing its own thing. I'll just tell you this right now. I don't really have an audience there. It's just randos, like only like 8% are subscribed to me who watch me. So that channel is just kind of like another way for me to create something I want to make. And also like the audience is more like people who just want to know about the topic.
Yeah.
They're not about Brittany Simon or their work or what I do here. Like they're not spending 5 days a week with me. They're just like checking in or finding me randomly or subscribing for one video and then yelling at me in another video. Like, I thought you were this kind of person, but I found out you're this kind of person. And I don't care because like nothing over there is almost like real to me. So the question or the reason I did that was I decided to put one, FD Signifier recommended having multiple channels. And I heard him tell Michael Burns and I was like locking in. But two, I made sorry, say that again.
I love him.
Yes. Love FD. Yeah, love FD. So I made the conscious decision to say that channel is for me to like pop in, throw my art out into the world, pop out. Like whatever happens, happens. Here, I put way too much of myself here. So I block comments like a crazy person here because my mental health I've tried to relax on it because I can't even read the comments at some points, but they're so rude. Like, you deserve to be assaulted or you deserve this or black people this or gay people this or trans. And I'm just like, and that's boys. I'm telling you, it's there's something about the boy part of the internet where they just want to say the meanest fucking shit. And they're like, you're a baby if it hurts your feelings. But God forbid I call them gay one time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not that would ever, because they wish, but like, you know, they can't handle it. So then I realized like, oh, that's also part of my bread and butter of attracting women, reminding them that men ain't shit. But like the problem with that again is like, becomes a good bad and becomes a gender war shit. So I get it. Like, make your decisions about how you want to run your channel. Just decide how much of you needs to be there.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because I think on my second channel, it's still primarily women, but I think it's closer. I think it's like 54, 60% women. But that's because I cover dating topics there a lot. That shit on men.
Yeah, I posted one video like about romance novels and it got like 0 views.
Oh no! Was it because it was like books?
Yeah, I was like, I just wanted to like yap about romance novels.
Yo, that's the other thing too.
Like, we don't care.
The niche. Okay, you know what videos my channel doesn't give a fuck about? Finances. If I talk about finances, making money as a creative, if I talk about anything related to like paying rent, nobody watches compared to my other videos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, because I have a special interest in finance. So I thought about making like a finance channel, but I don't have the spoons. But like, I have such a special interest in so many things. I had to really sit down with myself and say like, Brittany, what's our career and what are our hobbies? And I was like, okay. Okay, fine. Because like, you know what really builds a career on this platform I've discovered, and I think most people have, is like doing the same thing every day for 10 years. Doing the same thing, same niche, no deviation. If you're going to deviate, make a new channel.
I decided, I hope this stream hasn't become so boring because we're just talking about like our personal YouTube journey.
No, they love it.
I decided that once I hit 100K and I get that little plaque, I can be like, I worked so hard. I got my little trophy. And then after that, I like don't want to chase views. I just want to like post what I want to post. Like,
I hear you. I should warn you though, my plaque has been stuck in the mail for 2 months. So that could happen. Thanks. And that took me like 20 years. So like 18 years to get that plaque. That's what I'm saying. Like, I stopped chasing numbers years ago, but I will say, you know what I do chase is that AdSense. So you know why? Here's my justification of the AdSense. I'm not going to ask my marginalized, queer, autistic audience to give me their non-existent money. God bless you guys, those of you who are rich. Okay, but the rest of you, I know, you know what I mean? People are not out here making a lot of money. So like, I feel so guilty. I'm already like 40% fan funded, which I'm so grateful for. Okay?
Yeah.
But also, who am I to ask my audience, out of all people, to give me their hard-earned money that they already pay tax on, just to give it to me so I can pay more tax on it?
Yeah.
Unless you really want to, girls, unless you really want to. But otherwise, like, I'd rather make Google pay me. Yeah. I know, you know, I understand the ethics of it though, but like, I just, you know what I mean? I feel so bad. People even tell me, like, Britt, can you please make this public because I can't afford it? And I'm like, girl, I can't afford to, you know, I understand. We're all not affording. You know what I mean? I get it. And like, look, even my partner and I recently, we got out of debt, and it was a big Thanks. It was the most grueling almost 4 years of our time together, because I came into the relationship with debt. I had this huge medical adventure and spent $16K, and it was stupid. It was like, I was so sick. Anyways, it took us that long to pay it off though. Like, it took us, just because how much money could you have every year to give to a debt? That's accruing interest. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not making that much, damn. And so like, and then you still have to pay rent. It's like, people forget, like, yeah, you're making money, but you're also still paying rent. and still paying bills and still paying everything else. And it's a lot, which is why I don't blame people for being in debt, because the emotional, mental toll, we would have to hold hands together and be like, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this, because it was so hard to feel. We felt guilty even spending like $5 on something.
Yeah.
Just feel so guilty. And then I was like, I don't want to feel this way. I'm not allowed. I refuse to feel this way in the world. But that debt was killing my spirit as much as it was really bothering me. So now that we're debt free and we live on very minimal, like $20 a week fun money, we actually can afford a lot. But it's a lot in the sense because we're not over consumers anymore. So going back to that original conversation, people would say to me, like, I don't get how you live off $20 a week. It's because I'm no longer buying on Amazon. I'm no longer chasing, God, the way I would go on Forever 21 and all these fast fashion websites, girls, I would like put everything in a shopping cart, like $400. And I'd be like, click, click. Like I just, all the high I would get when a package came. I love opening I still, by the way, no judgment to myself. I still love it.
I get it, because I recently dropped some money on this like ethical, sustainable fashion brand. And like, I don't do that often. Like I try to shop only secondhand, but I'm like, it even as an anti-consumer who truly has like gotten over my shopping itch for the most part. Like I still love, like I was so excited when my package came. I was like,
yeah, I think it's like Christmas. Because like, look, I truly, I do not have. So by the way, the path out of this, because I'll just compare it. I think it's really important to compare. When I was getting out of my overconsumption thing, I would just for the high go on Forever 21 and put everything in a shopping cart and then delete it. And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
just to get a hit, bro. And then eventually I stopped doing it.
Good.
I don't even know when it happened, but yeah.
That's what I want to explain to people so often about veganism too, and shopping and stuff is like, you think because right now you're like in the throes of your addiction, hot shopping addiction, or like you've only ever eaten meat, you don't know, like you think that you could never do it. Like I used to say when I was in high school, I could never be a vegetarian. And it came from like a pick me place, because I was like, I didn't like meat that much. I just wanted to like impress my crush or some shit. I don't know. But I genuinely thought like, oh, I could never be a vegetarian. Like and then there are people who are like genuine meat lovers who are like eating meat all the time, and they think they can never be vegan. And it's like, you're really selling yourself short. Like it's really like you can like, and once you are and you stop and you get to that place, you're like, wait, this isn't hard.
Yeah, I was eating the other day. I was eating dinner and I was like eating my food. My partner and I eat different things right now because Avi, but like I'm eating and I looked at my plate and I said, oh, baby, I have not eaten an animal in like a year and a half. I'm going to be 2 years in February. And he was like, yeah, I'm really proud of you. I was like, I cannot believe it. Like, because I was so identified by this thing. And now I'm like, I am eating good every day. Like I am really lucky that, first of all, I'm lucky I like vegetables. To all my autistic people out there that can't.
If you don't, you can change your taste buds.
Sure.
Your taste buds are not set in stone. Like you can develop a taste for healthy food. Sure. Like you can. Like
sure. And even if you're like not a healthy vegan, whatever it is, like at the end of the day,
because you have to be.
Not that you have to be, but you know. But
can.
I'm just saying, like, I really have like these moments where I look at what I'm eating and I'm like, holy shit. Or like, I'll look at my partner and I'm like, I can't believe we haven't bought from this place. Or like, I cannot believe, like, who is this? Who are we? But it happened in increments. And yes, Chad, it did help me to put things in a shopping cart to get that dopamine, whatever I was seeking, and then come back to it. You know what I did also do is I would put it all in a cart and say, okay, if I want this in 3 days, I'll buy it. And then when I would come back, I'd be like, man, I don't even want this. Man, I don't even need this. Like, I don't even want this. Yeah. And then I would get what I really wanted. And I do that now, by the way. Like before we make a big purchase, like if something is like $50 to like $300, let's say, that's a big purchase. Okay. That's like a big deal. Like $50 is like, okay, what are we buying? It's research. Where is it from? Everything we spend at least a few weeks talking to each other about it. And then we decide to do it. And that really helps as well. I never would have done that in the past. Never would have I would have been like, sounds good, click.
Yeah. it's a win-win because it's better for the planet
Yes.
to not buy cheap fast fashion and buy shit you don't need. But it's a win-win-win. It's better for like you're not supporting sweatshop labor, you know,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you're also majorly benefiting yourself because you're saving so much money. Like I talk about this. I made a video about how I retired
Mm.
at 32.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to talk about like the concept of retirement,
Yeah.
how it's like this construct and like
Definitely.
what is retirement, like what is labor. Like obviously I'm not retired in the sense like I still work, like
Yeah.
but I'm retired and anyways, I was able to get to a place of financial security. And a large part of that is obviously privilege and luck
Mm.
and like finding like a job that paid a decent amount and like not having college debt. Like there's so
Mm.
much privilege. But
Definitely.
also on top of that, because I do know a lot of people in my exact same position of privilege that are now struggling financially
For sure. For
because
sure.
they bought into like the overconsumption, you know? And since I'm so fortunate that I became a vegan at 18 and then started questioning like all of this stuff early, because when I stopped buying fast fashion and stopped like I try to buy like almost everything secondhand, like my entire house is furnished secondhand. Like
Love that.
because I did those things and we lived on the cheap and like lived in like crappy apartments, even though we had enough money to like live in nicer apartments, like
Mm-hmm.
I saved so much money just because we weren't buying shit. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a 10-year period, like buying ethically and like sustainably is going to majorly help you. Like if you're selfish, if you're totally selfish, like you should be motivated to do
Yeah.
this. Like
I think it's like it really is like a just kidding, trickle down. I was gonna make a trickle down economics joke. It's something that happens over time because even like for us, we've decided to spend a majority of our income, I guess in a sense, like on our place, because it's the first time in my adult life I have an office to work out of and I'm 37. Like I'm really excited about that. But then we don't buy other things. But then I'm like, yeah, but we have this apartment. Or like we have these things. We don't have a car. Because I'm like, yeah, we could, but like I don't want to put money towards that right now when we have public transit and we live in a place. It does come at some disadvantages. Like example, it's like shopping secondhand. So people always ask me like, do you shop secondhand? Okay, so I just like from an autistic disabled perspective, I want people to understand. I have one day off. It's a Sunday. All stores are closed in Croatia. Okay, because it's like a Catholic country, whatever. Okay, fine. So then in order to go to the secondhand store that I know where it is, there's two that I'm always looking at. Okay. I have to take a bus, which is like a 4-hour round trip to this store that may or may not have anything I find. And that's all I'm doing my once a week. If I had a car, it would take me 10 minutes there and 10 minutes back and like 30 minutes of shopping. You know, and so then I have to think about like, do I want to get on a bus and get there and then wait for the bus again? And then do I want to, and I don't speak the language, I'm learning, but I'm very bad at it. And people have been very kind while I'm learning, but do I want to go to a shop whose reviews are kind of mean to foreigners, kind of charges more if you don't speak Croatian? I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I know places like that here I told my husband, I was like, they're doing this. They know I don't speak Croatian. I know this hustle. I'm a Syrian. I know the hustle. Okay. And so I'm like, you gotta stay with me. You gotta tell people that like, you gotta, and I'm not judging them for it, by the way. Like we live in a tourist town where tourists are ruining the economy. Like they probably think I'm a tourist. Like they're probably like, fuck this girl. She's probably rich. She's probably from America. She's probably like, I don't even blame them in that sense.
Yeah.
So I get it. Like, I mean, an average Croatian can't even afford anything anyways. Like they're being fucked over by their own, like, you know what I mean? Like things are hard for them. So here I come with my, American accent, anyways, generally they're great though. I'm trying to, be empathetic here. It's like, that's so much harder than just saying, okay, let's take a bus to the mall where we could have a date day, spend 4 hours at the mall, grab what we need, take our time and come home. And then there's 6 options we have of stores we can buy for the house, we can buy for the cat, we can buy for us, and we'll come home. Versus let's spend 4 hours going to a thrift shop where we might not find anything. And by the way, there's nothing else around it.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Cause like, it's easier for me to furnish my home secondhand when I can borrow my dad's truck to go pick up heavy.
Yes. Like we could call my father-in-law and be like, hey, are you busy today? Do you mind? And he won't mind, but also like, we try not to bother people, but also they'd be willing to. So then we do, because that's what community is about. And then at the same time, we don't have a car and it's not the biggest size. So there's so many layers to it, which is why, again, it's not about perfection. It's not. Even if you bought a brand new table, it's like, okay, did you get it from a local artist who like, this is their one commission a year? Like, did you buy there's so many parts of this that I think can play into each other, but I think like you evaluating your specific situation, your community specific situation against what other people are doing in other places. Like, that's what I think is the ultimate message, is like, what can you do in your local community? And that's, again, not to be that girl, but that's why Hassan possibly contributing to gentrification is annoying to me, or Chelsea taking a home from a French local who needs it is annoying to me, because I'm just like, how is this helping your community? How is this helping the local community by doing this? I don't get it. And that's what I think I try to pay attention to myself, which is not more perfect. It's just more aligned with my values. If that makes sense. Like, does that make sense?
It's like the more privilege you have, the more responsibility you have. So the more money you have, the more it is easier to like shop, buy clothes and furniture and like nice clothes and furniture that are secondhand, like bougie, like secondhand retail, like consignment shops that are like really nice resale. Like they charge a lot more because they're like basically designer clothes,
I've been plenty.
And like, that if I had, that's why, people like, not to pick on these people too. I know. Like, Hassan and Chelsea, it's like, you guys have so much money. You could do those things, and those things, but
I think it makes people also feel bad. Like, I remember Chelsea put out on her blog like swimsuits she recommends, and they were like $400, and her audience was like, girl. And I was like, so then that's the other part of the part of it is like, how do you acknowledge that you make so much more than the average person and then talk about sustainability? It's like, that's why I say I don't judge you for shopping on Amazon. I judge Hassan for shopping on Amazon. Because I remember he did this shopping haul with his friend, and then he bragged. He's like, "Oh yeah, I spent thousands of dollars here, but I bought this for $12 on Amazon." Why are you shopping at Amazon? That doesn't make sense. Like, So that's what it is. I'm never judging the person who can't. That's okay. So no ethical consumption under capitalism. That's my understanding of it. Is we're acknowledging the intersection of marginalization that doesn't allow for people in survival to make decisions that people of privilege can make. It's not for Hassan and Chelsea. Like, it's for the people who can't. People making $30K a year. You know what I mean?
Like, I mean, I'm in a decent financial position, but I'm nowhere near Chelsea or Hassan. And then I have like my best friend is in like she makes. I mean, she's not living in poverty, but like she's like somewhat living paycheck to paycheck, And like she does it. Like she exclusively thrifts and like lives, a very ethical, sustainable lifestyle. Like, but.
And you can up it. You can change it as you make more money, or it can look different as you make more money. But because you know how people who are poor, they go, "I'm a minimalist." You're not minimalist. You're poor. Like,
exactly.
You're not minimalist. You're poor. So like the difference is like, as you get wealthier, do you meet that threshold? Do you change your life significantly or a little bit to reflect it in a way that makes sense? Like when we got out of debt, we gave each other $20 a week for spending money. That was our version of meeting that threshold of like, and now I did art. Like I did those 3 pictures behind me. I made, but I couldn't justify like art supplies before we're out of debt for Brittany. Obviously I've done it in the past before, girls. I just had to like lock in because no judgment from anybody. But like, and now I can, so now I can do a hobby. Cause everyone's like, I can't afford to do my hobbies. Same. So now I'm trying to afford ways to do my hobbies. And this was a big part of that journey. But you know what? There's a slow fashion company in France I really want to buy from. But pants, they're like €150 for pants. And I'm like, so I get $20 a week. So it's 85-ish euro a month if it comes out to the right amount. So €80 a month for an €150 for pants. And so I'm like, okay. And then I gotta hope it fits. And I got a big butt, girl. So like, I'm like, I gotta hope it fits and it's tailored to me. Sure. And like, so I'm doing all these things just not to buy fast fashion.
Right.
And then I'm like, I hope this works. Like, what if I do this? What if I save up and then I get it and then I hate it? And then I'm like, And then that's
Well,
the
you
other
can return
part.
it, yeah.
Hopefully, like, you know what I mean? But like, that's the idea is like, yes, these things are possible, but it's no joke. Like, it would be a very big deal for us to lose 150 euro. Let's say if we lost it, like, that's not a
Yeah.
joke, you know, that's a big deal, you know? And so again, when we talk about, again, everyone's on their different journey, but I know we have to wrap up, right? You got to go soon.
Yeah, my parents are also blowing up my phone, so I should probably
Perfect.
hop
Okay.
off.
Okay. Let's bring it full close. Ultimately, I have enjoyed this conversation, and I know that ultimately every individual listening to us needs to assess their own situation against their community situation, against their ethics, and make decisions that make sense for them. But remember that ultimately, I think if you are embodying leftist philosophy, hopefully it would also be a collective thinking from a compassionate and like full view from the earth to the non-human animals to the human animals, and that we would be taking into consideration all of these things as we move forward for a more collective society. Your thoughts?
Yeah, amen. For sure. I think we should be thinking about like whenever we make a purchase, like where did it come from? Who made it? Like we shouldn't just be like spending and not thinking about the impacts of our choices.
Definitely.
But you don't need to live with like so much guilt. Like
No.
it's a balancing act of like recognizing that there's only so much you can do. You don't have to like be fraught with guilt about every purchase, but like you shouldn't be so defensive when people point out certain things that you may be doing that are not exactly sustainable.
Yeah,
We should
I
always
agree.
question our consumption.
Yeah, and
So,
I don't want you guys, guilt is when you betray your own values. So make sure you're living your values, but do not beat yourself up when we live in the world that we do. Instead, try to be a little less bad every day. Okay? Because like we can all do a little bit more every day, but like, you know, that I just don't want people drowning in their own like, I don't want you to spiral over this. Okay? I
yeah.
want Trump to spiral.
Another Bizzle quote that's really good.
Okay.
You cannot do all of the good the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Catherine, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Reach out anytime. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.